Hello, I'm the real-life fake wizard. Those Dudebros mad at Starfleet Academy aren't actually Star Trek fans. That's the article we're going to discuss from access media outlet The Mary Sue. This article is everything wrong with modern entertainment journalism compressed into one insufferable, hypocritical, corporate bootlicking form of expression. My friends, there are 5 types of people ruining entertainment: corporate executives, marketing professionals, influencers who shill for them, writers who can't write, and journalists. Specifically, journalists who don't inform, journalists who don't critique, journalists whose entire job is to run defense for the corporations that grant them access. The Mary Sue, our fake news media outlet of the day, and this article are perfect case studies in why no one trusts entertainment media anymore. Today's indie game shoutout is Ethermancer. Monster taming meets roguelite. Become the Ethermancer and fight alongside mythical creatures. Explore the ever-changing fractured ruins. Plan your moves in challenging turn-based battles, and watch your monsters grow stronger from previous lives and defy death. To learn more about this and hundreds of other indie games, visit our indie game discovery network, fakeportal.com, or scan the QR code on your screen. Now back to the video. The Mary Sue is not a news outlet. They don't report the news. They are not a critical publication at all, really. The Mary Sue is an access pipeline. Their business model depends entirely on maintaining relationships with studios like Paramount and like Disney. If they write honest criticism or share genuine opinions or say anything negative about their corporate masters, they lose early screeners, they lose interview opportunities, they lose the exclusive quotes and set visits that generate all of their web traffic. So when a show like Star Trek Starfleet Academy drops and the internet begins dunking on it, someone at the Mary Sue might choose to write a defense piece on it. Like, that's the job. That's what Access Media does. They're not critics, they're not real journalists. They're the PR department's unpaid interns that understand basic functionality of a WordPress website. Our Mary Sue editor-in-chief here that penned this article didn't write this because she has insightful thoughts about Star Trek. She wrote it because Paramount needs defense and the Mary Sue needs continued access. Everyone gets what everyone wants, except the audience, of course, who only gets propaganda instead of journalism, and they get further bastardization of Star Trek on Paramount+. Once you understand that, once we all internalize that a majority of the people who have journalist or writer in their blue sky bios aren't actual journalists, everything starts to make sense. Every weak argument, every deflection, every insult lobbed at critics and fans instead of engagement with their actual points, it's intentional and it's strategic. She's doing exactly what she's supposed to do. Now, with that in mind, let's analyze this article and respond accordingly. Number 1, gatekeeping. Those Dudebros mad at Starfleet Academy aren't actually Star Trek fans. This is gatekeeping. She is quite literally declaring who is and isn't a real Star Trek fan. That's the definition of gatekeeping. That's the exact behavior that these people claim to stand against. But see, it's only gatekeeping when other people do it. When the Mary Sue decides that millions of lifelong Star Trek fans aren't real fans because they criticized a Paramount Plus product, well, that's just speaking truth to power, baby. That's just calling out the grifters. The hypocrisy here is staggering. It's so blatant that I almost respect it. Almost. Number 2, credentials. Okay, so the Mary Sue editor-in-chief decides who a real Star Trek fan is. Fine. What are her credentials, though? What makes her the arbiter of Trek authenticity? Let's quote the article directly. I come from a family of Trek lovers, myself included. To me, Christmas doesn't start until I hear Leonard Nimoy say, "Shuttlecraft to Enterprise, shuttlecraft to Enterprise, Spock here, happy holidays, live long and prosper." From my brother's Star Trek Christmas tree. That's it, folks. That's her credential. Her brother has a Star Trek Christmas ornament. She continues, which is probably why the whales, Gracie and George, are my favorites. She likes the whales from Star Trek 4, the one where they go back in time to save humpback whales, but that's her favorite part of Star Trek. The whales. And actually, that's fine. You can like Star Trek 4. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is a person telling us that critics detractors and fans who have watched every episode of every series, who can quote Picard's speeches from memory, who grew up debating the ethics of the Prime Directive, they're not real fans because they don't like Starfleet Academy. Meanwhile, her qualification is a Christmas tree decoration and some whales. But here's where it gets actually offensive. In the same article, she writes this about Starfleet Academy detractors here. They'll buy a Spock doll and pretend they understand the show itself, but the reality is they just buy nerdy things and make that their personality. Now, of course, this is in reference to Nerdrotic and his Spock stream, where he attached a Spock action figure to a chair and turned a live stream on, and with just the toy in frame and nothing else, he was able to get more concurrent viewers watching than the pilot episode of Starfleet Academy, which aired live on YouTube to very poor viewership reception. Our Mary Sue writer is accusing detractors and critics of only owning merchandise without understanding the franchise, while her proof of fandom is owning merchandise, specifically a Christmas ornament that plays a Spock audio clip. How do you write that sentence and not realize what you've done? How do you accuse people of being fake fans because they buy merchandise in the same article where your evidence of being a real fan is merchandise your brother owns? I don't know if this is a lack of self-awareness or if she just thinks her readers are too stupid to notice. Number 3. It was never for you is not an argument. The core thesis of this article is that Star Trek was never meant for conservatives, or really people that don't think like the Mary Sue writer. That if you hold different political views, you were never the intended audience, and therefore your criticism is invalid. To quote, "You're a Republican MAGA personality. Star Trek was never yours." Further, seeing as Roddenberry held democratic and socialist ideals when he was alive, I'd be hard-pressed to find a Star Trek episode that even vaguely fit your ideas. Okay, let's talk about this. Star Trek premiered in 1966 on NBC, a major broadcast network. It was designed to appeal to the broadest possible audience because that's how network television worked. It was sponsored by advertisers who wanted to reach everyone. The show needed ratings from everyone everywhere to survive. Gene Roddenberry was a businessman. He wanted to tell stories, yes, but he also wanted to make money. He wanted the show to succeed commercially. The idea that he secretly designed Star Trek to exclude half the American political spectrum is historically illiterate. Did Star Trek have progressive themes? Yeah. Absolutely. The diverse bridge crew, the interracial kiss scene, the anti-war messaging, the utopian vision of humanity's future. These were groundbreaking and intentional, but progressive themes don't mean conservatives not allowed or whatever it is that you're preaching. Star Trek's optimism, its belief in human potential, its celebration of exploration and discovery, these are universal values. Or at least they used to be, before people like this Mary Sue writer decided that everything has to be sorted into a political tribe. You know what's funny? The original Star Trek had lots of conservative fans. And it still does. Military veterans who loved naval structure of Starfleet. You had religious viewers who appreciated the show's moral clarity. You have libertarians who connected with the frontier exploration themes and all that stuff. You know, people across the entire political spectrum, people all over the world watched and loved Star Trek because it spoke to something bigger than partisan politics. It was beyond partisan politics. But according to the Mary Sue, none of those people were real fans. They were just, what? Watching incorrectly for 60 years? This "it was never meant for you" argument is pure gatekeeping laziness. It's a way to dismiss criticism without engaging with it. Instead of defending Starfleet Academy on its merits, she's arguing that certain people aren't allowed to criticize it. This isn't a defense. It's not going to hold up in court. You're admitting you can't defend it, which is a great transition to number 4. She never actually defends the merits of the show. This entire article is supposedly about why Starfleet Academy is good and why critics and detractors are wrong. So what does the Mary Sue say about the actual show? Quote, "Starfleet Academy is what I have always loved about Star Trek. It feels like a warm hug and is fun, adventurous, and exactly the kind of world that Roddenberry dreamt of 60 years ago." It feels like a warm hug? It's fun? It's adventurous? That's it? That's your defense? 3 vague positive adjectives and an appeal to Roddenberry's ghost? She doesn't discuss the writing, she doesn't analyze the characters, she doesn't address plot structure, dialogue quality, pacing, or narrative choices. She doesn't engage with any specific criticisms of the show. She just says, it feels nice. You might as well just say it's for the vibes. This lady writes articles like poorly written Yelp reviews. 5 stars, it felt like a warm hug, would come back. But this is the tell that exposes the whole operation. Our journalist here can't defend Starfleet Academy on its merits because defending it on its merits would require engaging with the actual criticisms. And the criticisms might have merit. The writing might actually be weak. The characters might actually be shallow. The show might actually be mediocre. She can't risk that. So instead of defending the show, she attacks the critics. She questions their fandom. She dismisses them as right-wing grifters. She makes it about politics instead of any kind of substance. This is the Access Media playbook. When you can't defend the product, make the criticism itself illegitimate. Number 5, the view count cope is pathetic. Luckily, most Star Trek fans have Paramount Plus and watched it there. But I guess if you only have a few brain cells that work, you think that this is a gotcha moment. Again, this is in reference to Nerdrotic's Spock stream, which dramatically outperformed the Star Trek pilot stream. First of all, classy. Few brain cells, huh? Really elevating the vernacular here. Second, let's talk about what she's actually saying. Her defense is that the show's viewership numbers aren't bad because people watched it on Paramount Plus instead of YouTube. All right, great. Then where are those numbers? Streaming services release viewership data when it makes them look good. Netflix announces viewing hours for their hits constantly. Within 6 days, they announced the numbers for Stranger Things' record-breaking finale. When a show performs well, the streamer brags about it. That's how marketing works. Paramount has not released viewership numbers for Starfleet Academy. They haven't said a word. Silence, actually. They're barely putting this show in promos for Paramount Plus. Our journalist here, as someone who covers this industry, knows this. She knows that when streamers don't release numbers, it's because the numbers are probably bad. That's industry common knowledge, but she can't say that, because saying that would mean criticizing Paramount, and criticizing Paramount would jeopardize access. You know, not even just to Paramount, right? Like, that's the rub here. If you criticize Paramount per se, it means you're likely willing to criticize Disney. It means you're willing to criticize Netflix. You might criticize Warner Brothers, or maybe the Mary Sue's advertisers. And we can't have that, can we? Because if you're willing to criticize one, you might be willing to criticize all of them. And that means to lose access to one jeopardizes access to all of them. So instead, she insults the intelligence of anyone who notices the obvious. Few brain cells, that's her argument. The insults reveal the weakness. Let's count the insults in this article versus the actual arguments. For our insults, we got Dudebros, few brain cells, grifters, don't actually know what they're talking about, nonsense, miss the lessons, these people. What do you mean, these people? Repeatedly questioning if critics are real fans, speak loudly and incorrectly, and then, of course, there are some arguments that she makes. It feels like a warm hug. Roddenberry was progressive. The original series had an interracial kiss. That's the ratio. 9 insults to 3 arguments, one of which is just, it feels nice. When someone resorts to insults instead of arguments, they're telling you that they don't have arguments. When someone attacks the person instead of the position, they're admitting the position might be defensible. This is rhetoric 101. The Mary Sue spends more words calling critics stupid than she does explaining why Starfleet Academy is good, and that tells you everything you need to know about her confidence in the product she's defending. Number 7, this is why no one trusts entertainment media. People aren't stupid. They can smell corporate defense pieces now. They can tell when a journalist is carrying water for a studio instead of informing readers. Every time the Mary Sue publishes something like this, they erode whatever credibility they have left. The audience knows the game. They know Access Media exists to protect corporate interests. They're well aware at this point. They know that outlets like the Mary Sue will never give an honest negative review of a Paramount product because Paramount might stop returning their emails. So the people go elsewhere. The viewers go somewhere else. They watch independent creators who don't have access to lose. They trust random people on YouTube more than professional journalists because at least the YouTubers are honest about their biases. And journalists can call those creators grifters all they want, but those creators are eating their lunch. Those creators have audiences that actually trust them. Those creators don't have to write embarrassing defense pieces for corporations that don't care about them. The Mary Sue is irrelevant. This article is irrelevant. And this one would-be journalist screaming into the void about how critics aren't real fans is irrelevant. But I'm still making this video because this article is a perfect encapsulation of everything broken about entertainment journalism. The gatekeeping, the hypocrisy, the corporate defense masquerading as progressive activism, the insults instead of arguments, the complete inability to engage with criticism on its merits. This is what happens when journalists become PR agents. This is why the industry is collapsing and no one gives a damn. You can love Star Trek and criticize its current state. That's what real fans do. Real fans hold the things they love to high standards. Real fans want their favorite franchises to be good, not just to exist. Real fans don't blindly consume whatever corporate product gets shoved in front of them and call it a warm hug. Blind loyalty to a corporation isn't fandom. It's consumerism. It's brand worship. It's exactly the kind of mindless consumption that the original Star Trek, with its humanist values and its vision of people thinking for themselves, was supposed to stand against. My friends, don't let access media tell you what you're allowed to criticize. Don't let corporate defense pieces gaslight you into thinking your standards are too high. If a show is bad, you can say it's bad. But if you enjoy it, you're allowed to say you enjoy it and explain why you enjoy it. If a franchise has declined, you can acknowledge the decline. Your fandom is not contingent on approving every product that carries a brand name you love. You're not a dude bro for having opinions. You're not a grifter for expressing criticism. You're not required to like something just because some journalist with a Christmas ornament says you should. You are allowed to think for yourself. At least for a little while longer in this case. That's what Star Trek values were always meant to represent. Until next time, create, innovate, inspire, and for the love of God, cancel Disney Plus.